Hey friends, I have some vintage farmhouse gingerbread themed Christmas DIYs today. All the things you need to decorate a primitive gingerbread style tree, so come craft with me. I'm Sarah, welcome to my channel Primroselaneprims. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button and craft with me in the future, and let's get to these Christmas DIYs. For this first DIY, we are going to be making a little primitive grungy gingerbread ornament. And to start off, I'm going to be making myself a little template here to use to cut out our little gingerbread man. And I'm just using a piece of cardstock, folding it in half, and then I'm just going to sketch out the basic shape of a little gingerbread man. I wanted this to be hand drawn. It's not going to be perfect, but I wanted it to have that handmade primitive effect that you get from a hand-drawn pattern. I hope that makes sense. Just, it's perfectly imperfect. Once I have my pattern cut out, I'm going to take a piece of felt, and this is like a caramel sandy color piece of felt, and I'm going to fold it in half, and then I'm going to put my little gingerbread man template right on top, and with a fine tip Sharpie marker, I'm just going to outline the shape of my gingerbread man on my felt. Now you don't have to double this over. I'm doubling it over so that I can cut out 2 at once, kind of save time, and I can get 4 gingerbread men out of 1 piece of felt. Once I have my little gingerbread men cut out in my felt, I'm going to start grunging these a little bit. And to start off, I'm going to take my Waverly Antique Wax from Walmart. You guys know I love my Waverly Antique Wax. And I'm just going to take, and I'm going to give this a little dry brush coat right over both sides of my gingerbread man to start off. That's just going to darken up this caramel colored felt to start with before we add any other grunging to it. And when we grunge, I'm only going to be grunging the front. So this antique wax on the back is going to make it more the same color as the front and make it all blend together better. Once I have my Waverly Antique Wax on, I'm going to go in with some of my Mod Podge, and I'm going to give the front of these a good coat of the Mod Podge. Once I have that on, I'm just going to take some ground cinnamon and I'm just going to cover the entire top in the ground cinnamon. And these ornaments smell so good too. I'm just going to press my cinnamon down with my fingers into that Mod Podge real good because I wanted to get down in that felt, down in that Mod Podge and adhere really well. Once my cinnamon is all on, I'm going to go back in with another layer of the Mod Podge. This is going to seal that cinnamon in, and all of this Mod Podge is going to take these felt ornaments and it's going to make them stiff, make them hard so that they're not just floppy felt on your tree. These are going to give them a nice sturdy texture and not have cinnamon flaking off anywhere. Once they dry, this is what they look like. So as you can see, they are stiffened up, they're harder, and they've got that nice grungy cinnamon texture on the front. Now to embellish my little cute primitive gingy men here, I'm going to take this homespun fabric. This is just one of the pre-cut strips of homespun fabric that I could get in a pack. You can find them on Amazon. And I'm just going to cut or rip a small little strip here. As you can see, I ripped this very uneven. I'm really good at ripping stuff uneven. It just gets wider and wider as you go. Oh well, that's okay. I only need a small section. So I'm just going to take my homespun fabric and I'm going to wrap it around my little gingy's neck here. We're going to just give him a cute little scarf. I'm just going to tie these around once because I don't want a large knot to kind of stick up. I'm going to want this fabric to lay on flat. So I'm just going to tie it over one time, and then I'm going to use a little bit of hot glue to tack that fabric down there so that it doesn't move and that the ties of the little scarf lay where I want them to. Next, I'm going to take these little small rusty jingle bells. You can find these on Amazon or Factory Direct. And I'm just going to hot glue one of these little jingle bells right in the center of my scarf, right where the knot would be. Look how cute our little gingy man is. Now, for a hanger and eyes, we're going to kind of double this up here. I'm going to take this rusty wire that I get off of Amazon and I'm going to poke it through. This actually, you have to push a little bit because that Mod Podge does make it a little stiff, but it will pop through the felt there. I'm going to pop this wire through where one of the eyeballs would be, and then I'm going to take my wire cutters and I'm just going to twist the end just to give that a nice little knot. And as you can see, that's going to be one of his eyes. And I'm going to cut a pretty decent length here because I'm going to fold this over and put the other end through where the other eye would be, and then do the same. And this is going to give our little gingy eyes, but it's also going to be the hanger to hang him on a tree. Two birds with one stone. And here's our adorable little wonderful smelling primitive gingerbread man. And don't worry, at the end I will reveal the entire tree with all of the things we make today. So stick around. For this next DIY, we are going to be making some faux peppermint candies. So when I think of gingerbread, I think of candy as well, especially when you think of a gingerbread house. You think of peppermints and gumdrops and different types of candy that are used to decorate. At least I do. So I want to make these little peppermint candies to go on my tree, and I'm going to be using just some tin foil here. I am just cutting it or ripping off a small piece, ripping it in half, and I'm just going to shape it into these oblong, almost pill shaped little pieces of foil. These are going to be the bases for our candies. Now I'm going to pick two types of homespun fabric. I'm using this red and cream gingham, and then I'm also going to be using a larger green and check homespun fabric, because when I think of peppermints, I once again either think of red and white or I think of green and white. And instead of pure white, I want to go with cream because, well, that's just a little more aged, a little more antique looking than bright white. So I'm going to take and I'm going to cut my fabric into about 4 inches 4-inch long sections here, little rectangles. And you just want it wide enough to be able to wrap around your foil. So if you make larger ones, you want to make it a little larger to make it go all the way around. But from lengthwise for the ends, I wanted at least 4 inches long. It's easier to tie these ends if it's a little bit longer, and you can always trim it down if you need to. I'm also using pinking shears on the edges of my fabric here to give those ends a little more decorative edge. Once I get my little rectangles of fabric cut, I'm just taking the hot glue here and I'm just hot gluing them in like a tube around my tinfoil base here. And once I have them all glued, I'm just going to take some of this thin jute twine and I'm just going to wrap it around the ends of my little candy here and tie it down tight in a knot. You can not only use these as ornaments, but these are also really cute little bowl fillers too. Throw some potpourri and a dough bowl and add some of these little candies, maybe around a candle at Christmas time. They're really cute for that as well. So these could double not only as ornaments, but also as dough bowl fillers. So I've tied off my one end. Now I'm just going to go in and tie up the other and then trim the knots of my twine down. And I cut my twine a little too close there. I was afraid it might unravel, so I just added a small dab of hot glue to make sure that knot didn't come undone at any point in time. And I'm just going to keep tying these for all of my little candies. I love making gingerbread houses. It's one of my kids' favorite holiday activities to do, is to get to put together the gingerbread house. And most of them just look like hot messes when they're done, but they're so much fun to do. I've had some years, I will never forget, that we couldn't get the gingerbread house to stay together. The icing would not hold it and it kept falling apart. So me being me, I go and grab the hot glue gun and I glue the gingerbread together so that my kids could decorate it. Because we made a Christmas memory, because my kids, I'm pretty sure, will always remember the year Mom hot glued the gingerbread house together. Now, to make our little hangers here for the ornaments, I'm just going to cut a piece of twine, fold it in a little U shape, and hot glue it to the back of my candies. Then I'm just going to take a small strip of fabric and glue it right over top of those ends. That's going to hide those ends. It's going to make them blend in and give us a little hanger. And look how cute, simple, primitive little peppermints. For this next DIY, I'm going to be using these wooden rolling pins. Now these are like little 4-inch rolling pins, 3-inch I think, wood rolling pins. They get them off Amazon. They originally come all in just a natural wood color, and I had started to already coat these for a different project in some Waverly Antique wax, and then I changed my mind on what I wanted to do with them. So I'm going to take these and I'm going to go ahead and finish covering the whole things in one coat of the Waverly Antique Wax, and then I'm going to go back at the end and I'm just going to wipe off any of the excess because I want the wax to work as a stain. I don't want a solid coverage. I want some of the wood grains and stuff to show through. So I'm just going to go over and wipe off any of that excess. We're going to be making some little rolling pin ornaments because we're making gingerbread, and of course we need rolling pins baking. So I'm going to go in with my homespun fabric, again the red and cream gingham and the green and cream, the same I used to make the peppermint candies. These will kind of be the themed fabric for this little gingerbread themed tree. And I'm just going to cut these into about 1 inch wide and roughly anywhere from around 4 to 6 inch strips. Once I have my fabric cut, I'm just going to add a little hot glue to the center of these little rolling pins, and I'm just going to wrap my fabric around the center. If you're enjoying this video so far, I hope you'll hit that like button and drop me a comment. Let me know what your favorite Christmas activity is. Is it making gingerbread houses, baking cookies, building a snowman, ice skating, or like me, maybe Christmas crafting? Also, you've probably heard by now that YouTube has this new feature called Hype. It's located down where the like button and the thanks buttons are. It's completely free, but it's a way to show YouTube that you enjoy the video and that it signals to them to recommend it to other folks. So if you like the video, I hope you'll consider hitting that hype button for me. It'll really help my channel out. And if you haven't done so already, I hope you'll hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you craft with me again in the future. Now back to our little rolling pins here, because now I want to make a way to hang these on our tree. So I'm going to go in with my rusty wire and I'm just going to attach it right around the center, wrap it around and twist it around so that it's wrapped around that middle and there's a long section hanging off the back. Now there's two ways you can make a hanger for these. You can either leave them just the wire sticking out like this so that you can wire it to the tree, or you can bend the wire around, twist it around on itself and make a loop. It just depends on how you want to attach them to the tree. I a lot of the times just leave them a straight line so that I can wrap it around the branch. Now, once I have my hanger made, I'm going to go in with my thicker jute twine. This is the jute twine I get from Walmart. And I'm going to start wrapping it around the center a few times, about 4 times approximately, enough to make sure that wire is hidden and covered. We don't want it showing because that would be ugly. So I'm just going to wrap it around and tie it in a knot in the front. And here is what the final product looks like on the tree. For this DIY, we're going to be making a little tree skirt for our gingerbread themed tree. And to do this, I'm going to be using this canvas drop cloth. This is just a painter's drop cloth, one you can get from Lowe's or any hardware store or Amazon. And I'm going to take one of these Dollar Tree Christmas tree skirts. These are about 16 inches. And this is for a smaller tree. I'm going to be using a 4-foot tree to put all of my little decorations on. So this is for a smaller tree, but this same exact process could be used on a larger scale. You would just need to measure out how big you would need your tree skirt to be and make your circle that size. But I'm just going to use these Dollar Tree tree skirt to trace around. These make excellent templates for making tree skirts. And I'm going to take my Sharpie marker and just trace it out, including the little line here in between and the center hole, so that it makes cutting so much easier. Now, the color of this drop cloth was not what I was wanting. I wanted it to be darker, more of a burlap color to fit in more of the primitive look. The canvas was just a little too light. It didn't match. So I'm just going to take some instant coffee, mix it in my hot water here, and I'm just going to coffee stain my drop cloth here. I'm going to push it in there. I'm going to let it sit for about 5 minutes or so in the coffee mixture. As you can see, it just darkens it up to a nice, pretty, antique look. I'm going to wring that out real good and I'm going to let it dry. So on this tree, we've got cinnamon ornaments, which smell good. And now the tree skirt is going to smell like coffee. This is one really good smelling tree, y'all, let me tell you. So just lay it out and let that completely dry. And here is what it looks like when it's done. It's not a huge change, but it's just enough of a darkening. As you can see, this little burlap fabric right here, it's darkened it up more to the color I was looking for. So now let's make this and to fit our gingerbread theme. So I'm going to go in with my cream and gingham colored fabric, and I'm going to rip it in about 1-inch strip. And be real careful here to make sure I rip this evenly this time. I'm going to take my hot glue, add a little bit right here on the edge, and glue the end of my fabric down right here on the edge. And it's going to hang over a little bit. I want it to go over the edge of the canvas drop cloth a little bit. And I'm just going to bunch it up, make a small ruffle, add another little bit of hot glue, about 1 inch or so over, and glue that down so that ruffle stays in place. And I'm just going to continue to do that to make these little ribbon ruffles, kind of like ribbon candy, the old-fashioned ribbon candy. And I'm going to do that all the way around the perimeter of my tree skirt. Now, if you run out of fabric and you need to attach a new piece, just hot glue that right in between where 2 ruffles come, and keep right on going. You'll never see that little seam. Once I get to the end, I'm just going to trim that off, glue it down, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to repeat the exact same process around the center hole. I love making little tree skirts. I make a lot of themed trees to do at craft shows during the Christmas season. So I'll make a lot of different themed tree skirts to match whatever the theme of my trees are that I make. And it's always so fun coming up creative different ways to make different themed tree skirts to match. Once I have the center hold on, I'm going to take my fabric and I'm just going to lay it out here, and I'm just going to kind of measure it out here, the length of the distance between the outer and the inner hole. And I'm going to rip off a little rectangle here, and then I'm going to cut my fabric down to about 1-inch strips for each side of the slit that opens up so that it'll go around the tree. Approximately 1 inch. You just want it wide enough so that it will fit on the outside edge as well as wrap around that. I'm just going to add some hot glue here, put it about halfway across the fabric, flip over my tree skirt, and then wrap it around that edge. That's what we're doing, we're covering that edge. Just wrap that fabric around the edge and give it a nice, pretty, finished edge. I'm going to do that on both sides of my slit here. Or tree skirt opening, I guess. Tree skirt opening, the slit, I'm not sure. Does that have an actual name? I'm going to trim off any of the little extra strings, because with the homespun fabric, especially when you rip it, you always get all those little strings. So here is what it looks like once we're all done. For this last DIY, I'm going to be using this 4-ply jute twine. This is the thicker jute twine that I get from Walmart. And we are going to be using this to make a really simple, primitive garland. And I'm going to once again go in with my green and cream gingham fabric. I'm getting tongue-tied there. And my red and cream. And I'm going to rimp these several strips of about 1-inch long strips. And I'm going to do that with both of these fabrics. Now, the amount of twine you're going to need for this project is going to depend on the size of the tree that you're making your garland for. I'm making this for a 4-inch tree, so I won't need as much as, say, somebody who was maybe doing it for a 6-inch tree. Now, once I have my strips cut of my fabric, I'm going to cut them all down into 4-inch strips. So 1x4 little cuts of fabric. Now to start off the garland, I'm going to take my twine and I'm just going to tie a slip knot. Just loop your fabric over, put your fingers through the loop, grab your twine and pull it through. That way we have a way to easily attach it, and we can adjust it as we need to put it on our tree or wherever you want to hang your garland. Now this is like a so easy and simple garland to make. I'm going to start off with my red fabric and I'm just going to tie it in a knot. Right here at the start, a couple inches down. Then I'm going to go down about 4 inches approximately, roughly 4 inches. And I'm going to go with my green fabric and tie it in a knot. And I'm just going to keep alternating every 4 inches, alternating fabrics, tying it in knots every 4 inches all the way down my entire garland. It's a simple, easy, but really turns out really cute primitive garland. Now I've made rag garlands in the past where they're a lot more full, and if you missed that one, I will link that video down below. So you can make the fuller rag gardens, but this is just a really simple little garland that you can make, and it's easy. It's one that anybody can do. See, look how cute. Simple, but cute, and so prim. Once you get to the end, however long you want your garland to be, just add a slip knot to the end. And here it is on the tree. Okay, so let's put all of it together on the tree and see what it all looks like. Now I will say the tree topper and the fabric wrapped candy canes I made in a previous video, which I will link down below in case you missed that. But here are our little rolling pins, our twine garland, our little gingerbread men, and our little candies. Oh, and of course our tree skirt. All together to make an adorable little primitive gingerbread themed tree. Easy, simple, and budget friendly. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed today's DIYs. If you did, I hope you'll consider giving this video a like, maybe sharing it with your friends. And if you haven't done so already, I really hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button and craft with me in the future. If you hit that little notification bell, YouTube will notify you every time I upload a video. It's completely free, and that way you don't miss out on any future fun, budget-friendly DIYs for around the home. So until next time, happy crafting, friends.